For our guests today, we have two guests hopping on with us today, both from Baltimore, Maryland, as you can see from their disgusting jerseys they have on currently.
Nick, before you even introduce them, I just got to show them one thing.
There we go. There we go. Now we're talking.
So accessible.
At my office.
But our guests today, we have Michael Austin wearing the white Lamar Jackson jersey, and then Bruce Zimmerman down here wearing the purple, disgusting Baltimore Ravens jersey. Both these guys, currently professional pitchers within professional baseball, both had kind of different paths to get to where they're at. Michael Austin, he was picked up by the Kansas City Royals and is still chasing professional ball with independent baseball with the Washington Wild Things. And Bruce was drafted by the Braves out of Mount Olive College, down Division II down in North Carolina, and then was actually traded to the Orioles and is now currently within their double AAA minor league system right now. And you were a big league spring training invite, is that correct?
I was. I get to go down there this year.
That's awesome. So he was down there. There's a good chance you could potentially be seeing him on TV here shortly, but we'll get right after it. Start up with some questions here. So for guys that train kids in the off season, how does that help your game from the development side? Putting yourself in a position where you're learning and you're growing and you're helping the youth at that same time.
It's huge. Being able to know how, everything works, and the more that you understand, the more that you can implement in your own game. When you're like giving lessons and going through mechanical stuff, and then once you're able to, implement it and explain it to other people, then you can put it in your own game yourself. So kind of see what you're missing and where you're lacking, and, you find drills that you're going to give to kids, but they can work for you also. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off that. I mean, the past 2.5 years has been a really big learning process each off season of actually how to train as a baseball player and an athlete instead of just someone trying to get strong in the gym. So luckily I've been kind of working with Cressy people as well as the head trainer at our gym, Route 1 Athletics. It's been nice to kind of transition not from just being a baseball player to being like an athlete in the gym. And I think that's where I personally, I've seen a lot more gains as far as just being an athlete on the mound. But then also kind of what Mike was saying, you figure out cues of how to teach these kids, but also how to mentally cue yourself. So it's a nice reinforcing factor that helps just keep your head in the game a little bit more so than it would if you didn't have those opportunities.
Bruce, this kind of question more so for you. You were a guy that was drafted by the Braves, a minor leaguer, traded kind of mid-season, if I'm correct, from the Braves to the Orioles. How did that process go down? How did it work out? Kind of tell us about when it was,
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy year overall, to be honest with you. So I started out in low A that year in Rome, Georgia with the Braves. Put together like a really good first half of the season, made the All-Star game that year. And then after that, at this time, the Braves still have like a plethora of arms, just stockpile of arms in their organization. So I was like, all right, I probably won't be going anywhere this year. Just might as well just gut it out and, kill it the second half as well. And then, go on from there. And then a week later, I think I had that conversation with my brother. And then a week later, I got moved up they skipped me over high, went to AA in Mississippi, played there for about 6 or 7 starts. And then the trade deadline comes around and obviously I'm just going about my business. I don't think it pertains to me at all as far as getting traded. And then my sister and my family members are texting me and they're like, hey, heard some buzz going around. It's the trade deadline, right? Is anything going to happen with you? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going anywhere. Not a prospect, whatever. And then lo and behold, literally 15 minutes later, I get called into the manager's office and they're like, oh yeah, you've been traded to the Orioles in a package deal. And I was like, oh, great. This is the weirdest season of all time. And so it was awesome, obviously, because I'm a hometown kid. So coming back to the team I grew up watching play. And so came back to Baltimore. To Baltimore and had to sit out for about 3 weeks because of going through the medical clearances from the 2 different teams. Finally got in there and finished up the season. I had an innings limit of 5 innings per start. So that was kind of a bummer to figure out how to do that. And like, no, I was only going 5 innings or whatever, but finished out the season okay. And like, it was more so just kind of establishing myself once I got to the AA team with the Orioles. So it was a wild roller coaster of a season for sure.
Next question here is going to be kind of for both of you guys. I kind of want to pick your brain because I know how Mike mentioned that you guys actually grew up playing together when you were about 12 years old. So you guys were able to form a relationship at a young age and continue that through all the way till continuing to still play today. So that leads me to my question of you guys training together in the off season. How much does that help push each other, and how much does that help you guys learn off of each other and pursue and help you grow in this sport?
I can attest to it because it's helped me a lot, considering I was never a pitcher until I got to college. So that's where my story is a little different. So, a lot of stuff that I had to learn on my own. And not having a pitching coach growing up, and Bruce being a pitcher, majority of his life, he's like, grabbed me and pulled me along with him through his process, and it's jump-started my game also. So having him with me working out, throwing bullpens, a lot of mechanical stuff that he sees that, he fixes for me is huge. And having him there also obviously pushes me because he'll have a great bullpen, so then now I want to match it.
I mean, it's an absolute blessing to be able to have each other in the off season. I know guys who go home and like that. I mean, the guys who go to Florida, go to Arizona, they have like hubs of dudes to train with or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get above, Maryland and it gets a little colder, there's not as many guys from these areas. We're very obviously both competitive guys. And so everything from just our normal lifts, I mean, when we have like max out days or just trying to get better that way, or especially when it comes to, November through January, February, when we start throwing bullpens, having an extra set of eyes, it makes a world of difference to actually be able to play catch with somebody every day. Like spin, like how does that spin look? Is it doing what you wanted it to be doing, especially for mechanical stuff? I mean, you could think that you're not falling off or you're not staying closed, but like it's night and day to the guy standing right behind you, trying to help you get better in the same way. So I know for a fact that, I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have, Mike in the off season pushing me and like helping me get better, as well as me helping him do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think Mick and I can attest to that, just being 2 years away from each other growing up, having a guy to do anything with, whether it's lifting or working out or throwing or hitting, everything really. It's just, you're right. It's great.
Yeah, no, and what both you guys kind of touch on is it brings out that competitiveness in you where no matter what you're doing, if it's picking up the balls in a bucket and you're like, hey, let's shoot these last 3, whatever it is, we're going to make it competitive and it's going to be fun and going to force you to bring the best side out of you.
So for you guys, I know this is a crazy time. We don't really know what's going to happen, when baseball is going to resume, when life's going to resume in general. What kind of advice can you guys give kids, viewers, high school guys, college guys, even like 10 to 12-year-olds right now during this time while they're home, hanging out, not much to do? What do you got for these guys watching?
So what I got to test for is find a way to get better that day. Whatever it is that you have to do. I mean, you got to get outside. You got to hit into a net. You got to hit off a tee. You got to get some dry swings on your own. Find some sort of way to get better, because now is the time where, we don't know if we're going to have a season. We don't know when we're going to be allowed to play. It's not set in stone, but when we are allowed to play, you want to be ready.
This is absolutely going to be a separator for a lot of guys in our sport. This is a time that you can take to really find a way. With the access that these kids have to the internet, to online coaching, to any good coaching instruction is available on Instagram or online, YouTube, whatever you want to do, especially for hitters. There's no reason you can't be taking, 50, 100 hacks a day and be getting better. And remember that, this game isn't forever. So, even though we're down right now, take advantage of, still being able to play and get better so when we do get back, you're not, behind the 8 ball.
No, yeah, I think that's great right there. And everything that you guys were able to say today, that just, to our listeners out there, give these guys a follow. Great players, great trainers, great just knowledge of the game that they know what they're talking about. And guys, appreciate you hopping on, joining us today.